Hey, and I think we are live. Man, yo, this feels good, Steve. This feels good again, man. It's been some time, man. Piston season kind of just blew right in, and the coverage of it all, everybody kind of getting pulled into their separate directions to make sure we can continue to cover this team throughout the season. It's just made it a little bit hard to get the schedules right, but I think we found the formula. We're gonna be getting it together. Hey, Sean, where are you, bro?
Yeah, come on, Sean. Where you at?
Shoot. But look, y'all know why we're here. The Detroit Pistons, man, they beat the Miami Heat tonight, 116-96. And look, they did everything that I would want to see them do as it relates to taking the defense in the right direction. You know, I know Bojan Bogdanovic, he had a heck of a game, 7 of 9 from 3. Jeez, man, what, for 31 points? And that's huge. I thought the bench was very, very huge as well. But largely, I man, 116-96. They held this team to under 100 points, bro. Under 100 points. That's huge. Their defense looks intentional. I'm going to keep using that word. At least tonight, it looked intentional, man.
They could have held them to the last two, but only Tyler Hero got hot, and that's the only reason they got that high, right?
Yeah. But look, they look like they were playing a much more aggressive man-to-man, as if someone told them, you know what, whatever schemes we're playing, just skip it. Just go out there and guard yours. And what we're going to see is individual players like Harold and like Bam, they're going to get theirs. But what did you see the rest of that team do, man? 11 points for Strus. Nothing else for anybody else. Like what? Five points for a couple other people.
Well, Bam had 21, 15, and 2. So I mean, Bam, you got to give Bam his credit too. I love Bam. Yeah. To me, it looked like Casey was like he was like, hey, everybody, pull out your driver's license tonight. Look at how young you guys are. Look across. Look at all those old men over there and guys that aren't that athletic, like Kyle Lowry, one of the Martin twins started, Strus. And Hero, not exactly known for being like the greatest athlete. Haywood Highsmith played 29 minutes tonight. I would be shocked if anybody in our audience really knew who Haywood Highsmith is. Oladipo is not himself. I could beat Duncan Robinson in a foot race, and then Jovic got 9 minutes. So, yeah, it looked like they understood that. Yeah, that's part of why I think you're saying that more aggressive man-to-man defense. That is one thing I like about them, is when they smell blood in the water, they go after it, and they don't let up. I think like Isaiah Stewart's probably the tip of the spear there, because he's definitely the one pushing people, lining them up, always getting them in the right spots. That's why, to me, he's like somebody they should be locked. Every discussion should be trying to lock him down to be a Piston for life.
I'm glad you brought that up, man. I just did my post-game recap, quick game recap that's going to go up on Woodward Sports any second now for this win. And I did mention Stewart at the end. He really set the tone in the middle, man. He's just an absolute Brahma bull in there, man. Isn't that what The Rock used to refer to him so fast? Whatever that persona is that The Rock had, like Isaiah Stewart is like the living embodiment of that. The absolute living embodiment is just absolutely like, yo, this is my area. This is my paint. Guys, usually when they get knocked down, they like, you know, the opposing team, they'll get up and look back at the player they made jaw or yap. I see players get knocked down when they see that it's Stu, they just, let me just go take my free throws. Let me say, and I love that. That's what I wanted to see, man. Like I said this a couple weeks ago. It just looked like, look, y'all are racking up the fouls, but these guys are getting and ones on y'all, man. Like, you got to do something different. Be more intentional with your defense. Know what you want to do. Know that you want the other team to feel that you're on the court tonight, man. And that's what Stu, I thought he kind of set the tone from that perspective. So I'm glad that you brought that up, you know. And yeah, you're right. If even Corey Joseph was running past people tonight, getting into the lane, just doing whatever he wanted to do. He was looking like Kobe on some of these shots, man. RIP. You know, it was something else. I don't know what got into this team, but on defense, they look more intentional. And on offense, they look much more fluid, much more cohesive. Like the lineups were just kind of set. They knew what they wanted to do. And Killian Hayes is playing a little bit of that Cade Cunningham role. He's trying. I know his scoring and things wasn't as good as you would want to see it, but he wasn't a detraction tonight either. You know, a lot of these guys were aggressive. They were trying to get to their spots. And overall, I was pleased with it. Again, a tip of the cap to the defense and how aggressive they were, and man-to-man just saying, we're going to be scrappy.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing is like guys playing with each other. We've talked about the chemistry and the camaraderie. It's starting to show itself more and more on the court. There are 4 guys on this team tonight that had 4 more assists. Bojan had 5. Killian had 6 with 0 turnovers, which is part of what Killian's appeal going forward, I think. Corey had 5, and then Sadiq had 4. And that just speaks volumes again to the camaraderie, to the chemistry, to the ability to just continue to help each other out. And I think the bench unit, like there's been a lot of like consternation or talk about Sadiq moving to the bench and like should we trade him or whatever. Part of it was they need somebody to keep scoring and keep the pressure on defenses. Like Burks can't do it by himself. Tonight's kind of like a beast bench unit of Sadiq, Kojo, and Burks. They'll complement each other. Kojo doesn't necessarily need the ball. He can be more the off-ball shooter. Burks can do a little bit of both. And then you can let Sadiq cook. He got to the line 5 times tonight, was 4 of 10 from the field. I think that is like sustainable for success. Whereas Bojan, we know he's getting his 20 almost every night. Stewart seems to continue to be fantastic in supplementary role. Shooting is developing. Ivy's going to have up and down times, right? Killian has been cooking more and more. It's just who's ever at that power forward spot. Sometimes it's Bagley. Livers has been injured. We shall see. And then Duran's going to have his moments too. This seems like a sustainable rotation and a sustainable lineup, especially in that bench of Sadiq, Kojo, and Burks. Like that seems to be really complimentary and also really helpful for somebody like Jalen Duran, who's Sadiq, Kojo, Burks. They will all get him passes and they will all get him easier looks in the paint where it's just him and whoever else is down there.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm glad you said that too. Like the lineups, they're just looking. I don't know. It's almost like a switch is being flipped, and what that tells me is that coach is getting on their tails, man. And really, it's about a confidence thing. Either some people are still worried about injuries, and playing through it, or some people are worried about where they're supposed to be out there on the court. They're all still. A lot of these guys are young players still learning how to play the game. They just are. Oh, hey, here you go. We got the big boss in the building. Shout out to Mr. Adam.
Well, I mean, I would, ask Joe for commentary, but he's on the phone right now. He's trying to take calls on Bojan. One phone is like dealing the trades, the other one saying he's going to keep him. I keep telling him he's not the GM anymore, but hey, he's here. We love Joe. That's why he's here. Of course, it's love. Nothing but love for Joe D, man. Detroit red and blue.
He asked too. He was like, slander or love? He said, I'm ready. Dog, I love Adam, man. Shout out to Adam, man. He one of the best doing it right now in this Detroit sports media. Hey, if you guys didn't check it out already, go look at the Morning Woodward show. What was that, Monday? With the Victory Hookah, man. Hey, he was in his bag. He was in his element. Definitely go and check that out. I know they got a show tomorrow morning as well. I'll probably get with Jeff to do this this Woodward Pistons podcast a little bit later. But definitely appreciate you stopping in. Hey, hold on, man. Adam is everywhere, man. Shout out to Bashir, man. We got a lot of our regulars in the comments as well. Shout out Booner Sports, man, doing a lot of good things over at Woodward Sports right now. But definitely, man, definitely. Listen, Steve, I wanted to ask you this, man. Was there anything fun tonight from this game, man? What's the fun element from tonight?
So I'm like the basketball nerd, and to me, it's like Killian's continual point guard play. Again, 6 assists to 0 turnovers. My drum I've been beating for a while, and you guys know this if you've listened to like Res Ball podcast or here whenever I'm on the table talk, is Killian needs to be like a Javon Carter, Patrick Beverly type, where it's the tough defense, it's filling in a supplementary role to the star players. I think that's going to be his long-term thing. And that to me is part of the exciting part of it. 2 of 4 from 3-point range. He continues to have these supplementary skills to let Bojan go cook, to let Stewart have more space on the inside along with Bagley. Bagley struggled tonight, but again, Killian was helping out in that department. And the defense continues to be there. And again, the low turnovers, 0 turnovers, 6 assists tonight. That kind of stat line. It's not fantastic. But again, somebody like Javon Carter, who's like the 6th man for the Bucks right now, pretty much. But he's unlocked that lineup a lot more to where Drew Holiday can cook a lot more, do stuff more on ball. Chris Middleton doesn't have to be rushed back in. This is another shooter for Giannis. Like this can be the same thing for Cade whenever Cade comes back. So we have another defender who can handle point guards, who's a lot taller, 6'5", and will not turn the ball over and shoot threes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you this, man. How much more versatile does it make the Pistons when Cade Cunningham comes back with these other point guards and other guards, getting these reps in right now? Does it make Cade Cunningham somebody who can be a little bit more flexible and versatile throughout that lineup in your eyes? Or do you believe Cade is still the straw that stirs the drink?
Well, I think Cade's still the straw that stirs the drink, and he won't. But he can do whatever he wants to do. He kind of came up playing off ball. It wasn't until his brother was like, "Yo, man, you need to learn to play point guard to make yourself more valuable." That it ended up being that way. If the team wanted to do 3 guard lineups, they could now with Killian playing the way he is. I personally don't really want to see that because I don't want any scenario where Cade moves over to the 3, because then on defense, like, who is he covering, right? You would rather have somebody else be there and Cade continue to be at one of the guard spots to utilize his size in mismatch advantages. But if they do go up against another team that is smaller, that runs smaller, then yeah, absolutely, you can do that. And then that scenario, maybe Killian has Shai Gilgeous-Alexander ability to move over to the 3, because we know he's not going to back down from any challenge. And with his ability to move the ball and have these supplementary skills now, you can play the 3 in a positionless NBA.
Yep. Yeah, I see some of the comments in here right now about that. Cade can become more of a scorer if he wants, since we have other facilitators. Yeah, because I think he needs to be that guy. We see the benefit of it when Bojan just absolutely takes over in the second half of a game like tonight. And they needed that against Memphis. I believe they absolutely needed that against Memphis. It was I talked about this with Sean earlier on the Kool-Aid and Murph show, episode 1. That those clips that I posted of Cade for the game day post, it was him just absolutely doing work. Just one of those guys, how we saw Bojan tonight. There's nothing you can do with him. He's going to do what he wants to do. He's going to get wherever he wants to get on the court. It just is what it is. Cade Cunningham is that for this squad. And I know that in his rookie year, it didn't make as big of an impact in terms of overall wins because his team it's not enough talent around him. But post All-Star break in those games he played in, the Pistons were 10-14. A couple of those games he got yanked. One of them he got injured in. So it was closer to 500 in the games that he was really, really, really playing in. And you saw the impact he was having on the game. Every time he went to mid-range Cade, nobody could stop him. And when they played Memphis in the preseason, that third quarter hit, and it was just Cade Cunningham doing his thing, man. A couple, 2, 3, 4 mid-range shots. One of those was and one, a couple threes. It just, that's what I want to see from him. I love the fact that he can make so good and he can make everybody else around him better. But I believe this team is even better when they got guys that can just go out there and get it. And what if you had a guy like Bojan who can go out there and get it, and a guy like Cade, who I know can be a good facilitator, but if he can score as good as he can score, bro, go get it. Go get it. Like, Steve, am I missing something here?
No, you're not. We've been struggling to come up with the comp for Cade. The one I've settled on is Cade is the Tim Duncan of the guard spot. It's fundamentally sound, immediately makes your team better, forces his will onto the court, is the quiet leader, is felt in every single facet, even if he isn't scoring all the time, and he doesn't need the spotlight 24/7 the same way that Duncan is. And like Duncan too, I think Cade has that teachability to where he will learn from anybody and everybody and realizes I can learn from anybody and everybody, and tries to stoke up basketball knowledge in any way, shape, form from any single one person that he can, which is incredibly rare, especially in top prospects. Normally, you have your guys, your trainers or whatever, but Cade has shown again, I will listen to coaching from, the guys at a coaching staff at Oklahoma State, for my big brother, who's probably still going to clown on me and still call me little bro all the time, right? From Ashton, who we've had on here before and imparted knowledge and wisdom. And then from Casey and all that staff, Rashard Lewis, Tim Hardaway, a bunch of different guys that are on that staff, starting with Coach Casey. That's why I'll continue to say that Cade Cunningham is the Tim Duncan of guards.
Yeah, you know, Adam, and this is kind of what I was getting at is you can't really build the team around a bunch of facilitators. So if you're gonna have some pretty good facilitators, and Killian Hayes and Cade Cunningham is showing that he can be a really good scorer, that's what I'm saying. You got to let him go. If Cade is showing like these guys can't hang with me, that's the whole persona he has on his face the whole game. And when he scores, it's just kind of, I told y'all, like that's the look on his face. And that's what I want to see from this guy, man. That's exactly what I want to see from him.
Yeah,
Just
you know what?
go and gun it. Him and Bojan just going. That's a crazy attack. And then Ivy, he's only going to get better. He's going to have to get this polish. And we talked about, is it speed? Is it something that he's going to be able to play as composed with? Like Dwayne Wade came in right away, found that composure. And I believe that is an arc that Jaden Ivey can get to. I want to be able to see him get to be a player like that. His mid-range game and his composure with his speed is going to be key. That's going to be the most key. But what were you going to say there, bud?
Yeah, no, to pick up on something on Adam's question here, I think the thing that this team is really missing and that they need in the future is a Sheed. I mean, if we're looking back at like past Piston teams, most of these guys are kind of quiet leaders, even Beef Stew, who will fight you, but is more in the Ben Wallace of like, if you make me mad, I'm just going to punch you. I'm not going to say anything, right? Everybody's going to have to hold me back and I'm just going to explode. But they need a Sheed, like somebody who's talking, somebody who's in their face, somebody who's going to yell at teammates in a good way, like that, and has more of an attitude and has that ruthless scoring ability to be able to enforce their will, both with their mouth and with their play. I really think that's something that the team is lacking. They need somebody with that kind of FU attitude all the time.
Yeah, I like that. And that's what we were basically talking about. Tonight, the defense had that vibe and that flair to it because of what Stewart and these other guys decided to do. I mean, I know Duran didn't score a lot tonight, but you could see even his impact when he was out there. These guys are being very disruptive in the middle. They're being very disruptive defensively. They weren't nice tonight. That's what I like. Like when they fouled people were flying into the cameramen, into the stanchions, out of bounds, when they were going after loose balls together. Like one of the plays that I think I really liked was Killian Hayes just absolutely trucking Kyle Lowry. I don't know if you remember that play. He was coming up from trailing Kyle Lowry, who stopped. Somebody was shooting a three, and he's just kind of, and I liked it. It wasn't like he just kind of, or just tapped him or kind of ran into him. It just was like, well, you're here and you in my way. So bye, like be gone. Yeah, I got the foul. I got it. That's me. Like, that's what I want to see, man. If you know you're gonna follow him. Like I early on, like I said earlier in the show, the and ones were something that I was like, look, I gotta go. We knew during the eras that our teams were hot, even before they got to the championship level, we knew Ben Wallace and these guys were out here getting it. Even before Rasheed Wallace got here, even before Tayshaun Prince was drafted here, these guys at that core, at that foundation, even like when they had Stackhouse, when Ben Wallace first got here, these guys were starting to put in that foundation then of, look, even if we're not the best skilled defensive team, you are going to know that we're physical. You're going to know that you're going to feel our presence. Even when they got to the championships, the reason why Eldon Campbell was on the team was because of that. He could bring that. That's exactly why he was on the team. And when he got in the game, that's what it was. Everyone knew. It's like, dog, he got 6 hard fouls. It wasn't even, and everyone knew there's no and ones with Eldon Campbell. Even Shaq. I said in the other broadcast, Wilbur Pistons, man, it was just every single time. Go to the free throw line. And that's what you want to see sometimes in a team who's still trying to learn how to get there on an individual basis, how to be individually stout defensive players. Sometimes physicality as a team and staying connected vocally, that can get you there. And tonight it did. Obviously, Jimmy Butler would have changed things for Miami, but Cade Cunningham would have changed things for the Pistons. I'm not downplaying the impact that Cade Cunningham has on this game. So largely, it's been a good thing, man. It's really been a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the aggression and like the hard fouls, this is where I continue to think like, man, Beef Stew must be having more of a impact in the locker room and like at practices and things, because he was the one that started it, right? And like you said, it's like, you're going to foul him, just foul him. Like, let him know that you're there and think about it of like, hey, you want to come back here in this area? Like Kyle Lowry, you want to just stand around and do nothing? Like, you're gonna have to think about it next time. I know, especially with Lowry, it's like, I know you're known for drawing charges and stuff. It's like, man, you're gonna feel me then if you're gonna try and draw these charges. I'm gonna make you hurt.
Yeah, especially if it's a legal play. It wasn't nothing malicious. We're not saying anything about doing anything dirty. We're just talking about, look, the game. We know what this game is about. Let's not act like we're not Pistons fans. Let's not act like we didn't see the bad boys. We don't even have to talk about them. Sometimes when you bring up the bad boys, people say, well, they were so brutal. No, they weren't. They were the team that did best what that era did. But if you want to talk about the going to work Pistons, they were a team who did it best the way that era couldn't do. That era couldn't do what that team did. And it did start with a level of physicality that just imposed the will on teams. Man, you had teams scared. And then you had teams celebrating that they could score over 70 in a loss. Like, that's that mentality. And you saw the way they walked onto the court. I don't believe that the 04 Pistons walked on the court believing, yeah, we're about to just outscore these guys. I think they walked in knowing we're here to maul you straight up. We're here to club you straight up. Yeah, it's 70 points. It was funny that people were finally happy with like scoring like 80 points a game with them after they broke that streak. What? That's the mentality. If you're talking about restoration, these are the types of things that got to be in the minds of these players. And tonight it looked like that, but it takes time. It takes time, man. We're seeing these guys progress. We're looking at it in the moment. When we look at this years from now, I believe we're going to see, 2, 3, 4 years from now, we're going to see it. We're going to be like, dang, that was a lot quicker than the process over in Philly to just peter out in the playoffs year after year after year after year. I believe this team is building for longevity. This team is not building for just a few playoff runs like we saw 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago. They're building to have a program here that San Antonio had for years. And even though they're going through down years, don't they still have that program intact?
Yeah, I mean, look at the last, 20, 25 years. The most sustainable formulas for getting to the finals were the Spurs, the Warriors, and LeBron, right? That's been it. Have LeBron on your team or build internally around 3 core guys, and then continue to play around with the lineups, because that's both what the Spurs and the Warriors have done. They found the 3 guys to build around, and that's easier said than done, obviously, right? It's not every day you find Manu and Parker and Duncan. Definitely don't find Duncan every day. And then same with the Warriors. You don't find Steph, Clay, Dre every day. But if you can lock in those 3 guys, then you're going to be okay. And that might be in the coming years. It might be have Giannis on your team, because that seems to be something I think that makes a big difference. Is just Giannis is such a different animal altogether, and it doesn't seem like he's slowing down. And even if he hits threes at like 33%, now, like, there's nothing, right? Nothing. Like, he's dropping like 35, 40 on you every night.
Pretty much. And shout out to Flagrant Elbow, man. Y'all go check out his content. Doing some great things. Bro, put your stuff in the chats, definitely.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's a great supporter of the Pistons. He's a great supporter of other content creators. He's a great supporter of what we're doing here. And we're always going to be a great supporter of what he's doing. He's been here since like the beginning of what we have been doing here on What We're Pistons, and even before. But that's the key there. Defensive intensity needs to be the identity. It needs to be what they wake up thinking about and what they go to sleep thinking about. That just needs to be it. I believe that all these guys have offensive acumen. But what builds confidence? Shots going down, or you out there strapping people up. That goes a long way when dog, I just stole it from him. When you see the other teams, when you see their confidence go, that starts to make your confidence rise. Especially when you're the one who did it. Man, hey, shout out Flagrant Elbow, man. Good defensive lockdown win. That's what this was. I gotta look through it again, man. Did they hold somebody else under 100 points?
I think it happened once before when Cade was healthy, but I cannot remember off the top of my head. I think this will be more of a regular occurrence once Duren starts to iron his whole game out, because I really do believe double beef lineup of Beef Stewart and Jalen Duren, like that has
I love that.
Super special, right?
One more time, bro.
Double beef.
I like
Duren and Stu, because Duren has shown that he will switch, and that it's far ahead of where a lot of people believe. Like, if you look up any scouting report on him from this past draft cycle, it was like, I don't know if he'll switch. This might be like more of a drop coverage big, but man, he has switched out on some guards that you're like, oh wow, and just the
Yeah.
more technique work that he gets in the NBA and being alongside Isaiah Stewart's only going to help. He doesn't have to switch out on as many people as he would need to next to Beef Stew, and if that spacing continues to be as good as it is with Beef Stew, then yeah, that's a fantastic 4-5 combination that could be better than something like an Al Horford and Robert Williams. Because number one of them is probably going to stay healthier than Robert Williams, and number two, like Al Horford's at the tail end of his career, Beef Stew and Jalen Duren are just starting theirs.
Yep. Let's see here. Booner Sports Show. And yeah, I'm glad you talked about it. We're gonna get to what he's talking about here, but I can't skip over the opportunity to talk about a 4-5 pairing of Duren and Stewart. They look good. Every time I see them take the court together, I'm instantly like glued to. I'm like, all right, special bustle. Like, I mean, that's how it is, man. Like when they're playing together, because that's what the core is supposed to be. That's what the battery is supposed to be. Like you know what I mean? I know that some people, including me, have had questions about if Isaiah Stewart is the starting four, but the way that this guy is able to kind of fit into the offense, if he can have a great defensive impact, I mean, just like he was tonight, an absolute disruptor, not just in the paint, but he was playing the high paint, making sure that guards weren't just going to be able to waltz in as easily. Obviously, Harrell's going to get his, and every time they pinched and forced him to shoot the three, he shot that, boy. He made it. So what you gonna do? What you gonna do there? I mean, but yeah, I loved it. And I think that as Duren gets more polished, you could tell Isaiah Stewart is a much more polished basketball player than Duren. As Duren gets that polish, that's going to be intense because Stewart just needs a solid protector, a solid number two defensive player with him. That's all he needs. If he doesn't have that, then it becomes off as undersized. If he has that as a 4 and he has a solid 5 behind him, yeah, let's get it. But if it's him and Bojan as a 4-5 combo, I'll pull out my eyebrow hair. That's all I got left, man. Like, I can't do it. But shout out Booner Sports Show. Shout out Booner again, man. Look, really good dude. Part of the Woodward Sports family. I'm glad he's there. We're gonna definitely have him on Woodward Pistons and Table Talk and some other stuff soon. We got to get this collaboration going, buddy. He actually collabed with us on a ticket giveaway, so I want to shout him out for that. Those were his tickets. Shout out to Zeke who won them. He's another one of the regulars that are usually in the comments here. You guys stay locked in. The content's coming more regularly, but stay locked in. We're gonna have giveaways for you all season. And right now, I'm trying to figure out about our first watch party. So definitely stay clued into that so you guys can come out and do that. Last year we did it at the Imagine Theater in Royal Oak, and we had a really, really good time, man. A really good time. So hey, definitely we're gonna try and do that again. But to get to the question, Sadiq Bey looked good the last 2 games, or the statement seems to get a feel off the bench right now. 30 plus minutes tonight, 3 steals playing his tail off. And what I will say about it, the most encouraging thing is that he and Alec Burks worked together off the bench tonight. It was a little rocky at first when they first kind of come off the bench together. Alec Burks, like his whole efficiency thing just went away. And Sadiq Bey, it wasn't like Sadiq Bey was filling in that gap with reputable stats. It was a little rough at first. So to see them play like they did tonight, Sadiq Bey was 4 of 10. You take that. Yeah. Some people will hear 40%. What? You take that 4 of 10, especially with the way he's playing and the free throws that he's getting. And then Alec Burks being able to just kind of get back to his role. Yep. They made some tweaks. You could tell to the offense, they made tweaks. They gave Alec Burks his space while Sadiq Bey was still on the court. And it was an awesome thing to see. One thing about Alec Burks we got to talk about, bro. This man has his highest free throw attempts per game. He's tied that now. 4.8 on the year. I don't know if that went up tonight. Yeah, that was before tonight's game. And his highest free throw rate, bro, 49.6%. He's getting a free throw attempt every other shot. Like every other shot. So he shoots it. He's usually making that first shot. The second shot, this man is going to the free throw line. I, I don't Alec Burks, ladies and gentlemen. Like I didn't know. I had no idea. I saw that, his last few years, 6 or 7 years, that free throw rate was down in those free throw attempts. Early in his career was a part of his game. So something that's happened here in Detroit is getting him going. I know he started getting going last year in New York as well, hitting that three hitting that three really well. But this year he's looking like a very, very complete player, man. He's playmaking, he's getting to the line, he's driving, he's hitting the three. And this is what we were talking about. We want to see this team complete. This team with Cade Cunningham inserted back into it, they're going to cause some problems for people, man. They really are. But what did you feel about Sadiq Bey?
I really like the way that, number one, he's accepted whatever role they've asked him to play. I think that's one thing that we should not be lost on Sadiq. I don't want to say he's the only adult in the room, but he definitely is like the most mature out of the younger guys of like, hey, you need me to go to the bench? Cool. Oh, everybody's out with COVID and injuries. Okay, I'm going to be the number one guy. Oh, everybody came back and I just need to sit in the corner. Cool. I'm cool to do that. Oh, you need me to work on getting to the free throw line more this year? Fantastic. I'm going to do that as well. And that is like, that's the one thing that's really borne itself out on the court. And then again, like, oh, I'm going to go to the bench now. I'm going to be the primary bench scorer. We saw them try to do that with Killian in the beginning of the year. It didn't work out quite as well because I don't think Killian has that ability to score in a variety of different ways. He definitely doesn't have the physicality that Sadiq has. And Sadiq, that's the number one thing to me that has like been really, really stand out is now he understands like how broad he is. He's got his handle down a little bit better to continue to attack and draw as much contact as possible. I think he was 1 of 4 from 3. So that would mean he was 3 of 6 from the field and then 5 of 5 from the free throw line. That is going to go a long way. Yeah, we all want his 3-point shot to come back, but my NBA comp for him has been Caron Butler. If you look at Caron Butler's numbers in his first 3 years, like that second year, he was terrible in Miami. I'm not really sure what happened. Third year goes to LA in like kind of a bizarre move. Didn't really work out there. And then finally in the fourth year ends up in Washington, where he's the third piece behind Arenas and Antoine Jameson and really found his role. And that's when he took off. I think Sadiq will follow something similar of like right now, like I said, last year they had that COVID outbreak. They had all the injuries. Sadiq's the only guy left. So his percentages suffered. And Sean Murphy from Half Court pointed this out too. His 3-point percentage, Sadiq's 3-point percentage last year is pretty much where it is now of like 28, 29. And then he ended up turning it around. So that's not out of the question either. But Sadiq's ability to play whatever role they've asked of him, be mature about it, know it's for the team, and to continue to work on things to get better, to be not just the 3-point shooter. That's the one thing we're all worried about, right? Like, oh, I hope Sadiq's not just a 3-point shooter. And everybody's like, Sadiq's not a 3-point shooter. It's like, come on, man. But look at how much he's getting to the free throw line and how much he's able to.
You know what else people need to start to understand? It's not just the free throw line. Look, we'll start with the free throws. All right, I got his stats up here. I dug a little bit deeper into the Sadiq Bey story, and I actually did an article about this on Woodward Sports called "The Curious Case of Sadiq Bey." And yeah, last year his threes were just about this. So if he's just a guy that takes a little bit of time to get warmed up in the season, what do you want that player to do? Be more versatile. He still has to shoot threes, so the efficiency may look like it's a little off. But when you look in, some people saying, "Oh, what a Sadiq Bey! Oh, just shoot threes. His game ain't working right now. Trying to drive. Do people realize that? Okay, his 2-point percentage, his first year, 45%, and that's when he was being spoon fed. His second year, 45%. That's when again kind of being spoon fed. 2-point, his 2-point field goal percentage, right? This year, do you know what it is?
They're like in the 50s, like 52 or something like that.
52%. Listen, being more intentional and aggressive about trying to score in the 2-point percentage range, taking more attempts in the 2-point percentage in the field goal range, and he's coming out more efficient. Like that's what you want to see out of Sadiq Bey. That's what you want to look at, because then when the 3-pointers come around, then what? His free throw rate, right? Went from 213 his rookie year to 224 his sophomore year to now almost 40%, man. Almost 40% free throw rate for Sadiq Bey. And just to pull in his I want to tell people his effective field goal percentage as well before we just wrap up the post game. His effective field goal percentage right now, he's shooting about 47% on the year.
What's true shooting though? Because true shooting factors in free throw percentage too.
You're right. Let me go get that true shooting percentage, man. Because I actually think his true shooting might be 50 in the 50s. Where's the true shooting at? True shooting percentage. Yeah, almost 55%. His rookie year, he was at 56%. Last year, he dropped down to about 53. This year, he's back up to 55. Now, the rookie year season, it was that good. Why? Because of where he ended with his 3-point percentage.
Yeah, and I mean, he was mainly just a shooter that season too, right? Like he just really good
just
at
a shooter. Yeah, if his 3-point percentage goes up the way it did last season, he's gonna have it's gonna be a career year for him, true shooting percentage wise. It really is, man. So be patient with Sadiq Bey. He's learning, he's doing different things, he's becoming this kind of versatile offensive player for us. And I love that Caron Butler comp because Caron could do a plethora of things, including handle the rock, including facilitate, including run the pick and roll, which are things that we heard Casey say he wants to do, see Sadiq Bey do.
Tough juice.
Yep. Man, I think I'm just looking through these comments here, man, just to see if anything else.
Well, I know one person asked if we were keeping up with Gabriel Procida, the Pistons' other draft pick over in Berlin. I am keeping an eye on Procida right now in the EuroLeague. He's played 11 games, scoring 6.7 points per game, playing like 15.8 minutes, shooting 34.2% from three. There are a couple different videos on YouTube of highlights from games he's had. Definitely go check him out and look it up. He continues to look like tall, athletic shooter that would work great and perhaps is a Bojan successor down the line.
Hey, I like that, man. I like that. I like that you're always on top of the draft coverage and not just the guys at the top. Yeah, this is Steve's craft. He is coming aboard, with Pistons to help us out with, not just help us out with, I mean, like a part of the family as our draft specialist. He is the guy. I'll be getting a lot of and leaning on Steve for a lot of, draft content, draft coverage, draft info, so that we can make sure that when we're speaking, when we're talking, and when I'm looking at the team, I can see and have a feel for what players may fit best for the Pistons. When we go down to really write these articles and really get into the analytics of it all and the metrics and all of that, and the fit. What Steve does is going to play a very, very, very important role and make sure we're not just out here discussing hypotheticals, but really getting as close to the real McCoy as possible with who these players are. And that's the level of work that I can speak to that I know Steve does. So I'm happy to have him on board. Shout out Sean Half Court, man. We've been doing a lot of content and behind the scenes, getting ready for some things lately. And so it was a long night for him, man, a long day for him. So he had to get that rest. But shout out to the rest of our Table Talk crew as well, Carl and Lexi. Shout out to them, man. They're both just putting out crazy good content. But Steve, anywhere you want to plug, man, for people to find any more of your content?
You can check out my podcast, Resball. You can look it up on Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Basically any platform that's in there. It's mainly a draft podcast, looking at sleepers. My most recent episode was looking at the University of Arizona, which is where I live and work here in Tucson, and looking at that team and their draft prospects, because they're one of these teams in the NCAA that is really good and is going to win a lot of games, might even challenge for a Final Four spot. But in terms of NBA draft prospects, it's not quite clear who the guy is. So I look into those. I also look into specific players like Mike Sharaf-Joms a couple episodes ago, looked at the shooting concerns with the Thompson twins and if that even matters. So definitely check out Resball on any streaming podcast platform. Just search Resball.
Dope. Hey, look, man. Well, I think that's the show. Once again, look, the Detroit Pistons, they're down to Miami Heat, 116-96. I think I agree with Kenyatta Stovall. I don't want to say that wrong. Hey, we beat the best teams and lost to the worst teams. Can we compromise? I hope they can, man, or at least at some point in time, just keep beating these good teams and then start smashing all of the bad teams as well. And then this team is going to ruin their draft positioning, and Steve is going to not like that.
Fail for Victor, scat for Scoot.
So what is it? Is it sick for Vic?
No, it's fail for Victor. That's what I've been saying. Fail for Victor.
I know Rob Beard from the Detroit News. I gotta give him his credit for that one, man. He was saying, the Pistons gonna be sick for Vic this year, and he said that don't be surprised if it starts off and it looks like that this season. So
yeah,
hey, it's gonna be something, man.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why the Spurs, long tank-averse team, all of a sudden is like, yeah, let's trade away DeJounte Murray. Hey, who cares if we don't have a point guard? Let's just roll it out and see what happens.
Shoot, man. Well, look, bro. I think this was a show. Hey, it's definitely good feelings, good vibes when the Pistons win. It's always good to see these guys win because we know how hard that they're trying. We know how hard that they're pushing, and that this is supposed to be the core. This is not like a collage of players that are supposed to win now. This is homegrown. These are the guys that were brought in, their NBA careers, their NBA starts, their NBA homes are going to be here. That's what's always going to be on their resume, no matter wherever else they go from here. Detroit is always going to have a special place for them, and so it rings a little bit different. I don't know if we've ever seen this. You have to go back to the Bad Boys to see a team that was built this, like a winning Detroit Pistons team that was built this way. On our 2014, our prize draft pick was Tayshaun. And then our victory cigar in Darko, but the prize one was Tayshaun. I know we had Memo.
Yeah, I think he was a second round pick, right?
Yeah. But that was it. This team is being built from the ground up on the basis of our rookies. That's what it is. All homegrown, home drafted players. So it's it's gonna be a process. These guys are learning the game, and they're the next up. I truly believe that. I truly believe we have some next up type of guys. So, yeah. Any last words, brother?
No, that's it. Joe and I are sounded off. I don't know if he's gonna get off the phone anytime soon, but.
Oh my gosh, dog. Sean is killing me, dog. He's hit me up. He going through content stuff, man. I had it on the Cake Crusader earlier. I don't know if you
I know I watch you guys and I cracked up when you're like, man, I went for 2 minutes with you being serious, and then you ruined
it. Oh shoot. Definitely, man. Check out the new content. We got a lot of content on the way. Steve actually got us his draft board today. So hey, we're gonna be definitely getting into that as well. What is Sean saying? It's for the image. We got stuff on the way. Definitely, man. Check out that other episode that's on the channel. And hit the like, hit the subscribe to support. We definitely it helps with the algorithms. We want to be able to build this community. We want to be able to benefit you all. And when we start doing our live events, we want you guys to be able to come out and really be a part of the Woodward Pistons family and everything that we're doing. So look, man, for Woodward Sports, for Woodward Pistons, for Steve, for Sean, for the rest of the Table Talk crew. Hey, my name is Brandon Dent, better known as Detroit Kool-Aid. Till next time, you all. Maybe we'll get Sean in here to teach us how to do these sound effects and all that. You know what I'm saying? Get something going. But hey, man, hey.